Oh man. Sickness is a bug that infects every single human on the planet, bro. I swear. Oops. I wish I could just not be sick for a little bit, but nope. Gotta deal with that the whole time. Hey. But it's fine. Maybe God just intended it to be that way. We're intended to be sick and get old and die because we're infected by sin. So, I guess in a way it's not the end of the world, but I'm dragging it. Anyway, welcome to the Living Proof Podcast. Glad to see you all again. As I was mentioning, I've been sick like the past couple of days. Sunday was the worst day, I think. It was just not a good day at all. I think Monday was also bad, but yesterday was better. Today's even better. We're getting back into being normal again, but allergy season is the worst season to be alive, I swear. Because every single time you'll just be going outside, your nose start acting up, your eyes start acting up, you gotta scratch your throat. It's just not a fun time at all. I was trying to just enjoy the weather outside yesterday, or the day before, Monday. Couldn't even do that because I just felt awful, so I just stayed inside the whole day, or most of the day. But anyway, if you hear any screaming or noises, that is my my suite mates being bums. But, anyway, yeah, today I wanted to talk about something that God brought to my heart Sunday night and Monday morning. I recently ran for a position in the National Society of Black Engineers, and I didn't get it, which, it's fine. Life happens, but I was a lot more upset than I thought I'd be. I went home after it, took some time to reflect, called my family, and I realized that there's a lot of unresolved ego and pride in my heart, and I think that a lot of the times that might be true for a lot of other people, not just me. And what I was thinking about is, how does it look to actually be humble, to get put into a situation like that, to not get what you wanted, and to actually recognize and realize that it's not you that matters, and that's not the end goal to get the position. The end goal is to glorify God. So I was thinking about that, and I realized, a great topic to talk about today would be that exact fact, or rather humility, and being humble in situations like that, being humble in any situation. And so I think, starting out, going to read the verses of the humility man, in a sense, Job chapter 1, verses 13 through 22. One day when Job's sons and daughters were feasting at the oldest brother's house, a messenger arrived at Job's home with the news. Your own were plowing, and donkeys feeding people. Hold up, I can't read. Oh my gosh, I'm like illiterate. Your oxen were plowing, and with the donkeys feeding beside them. When the Sabians raided us, they stole all the animals and killed all the farmhands. I am the only one who escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, another messenger arrived with the news. The fire of God has fallen from heaven and burned up your sheep and all the shepherds. I am the only one who escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, a third messenger arrived with this news. Three bands of Chaldean raiders have stolen your camels and killed your servants. I am the only one who escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, another messenger arrived with the news. Your sons and daughters were feasting in the oldest brother's home. Suddenly a powerful wind swept in from the wilderness and hit the house on all sides. The house collapsed and all your children are dead. I am the only one who escaped to tell you. Job stood up and tore his robe in grief. Then he shaved his head and fell to the ground to worship. He said, I came naked from my mother's womb, and I will be naked when I leave. The Lord gave me what I had, and the Lord has taken it away. Praise the name of the Lord. In all of this, Job did not sin by blaming God. And I think many situations in life, people have arisen with the question, why did God allow this to happen? It has been an infamous question in many Christian debates and many theological debates and in many just life questions. Why is this happening? Why am I going through this? Why is God doing this to me? I think that then this directly portrays that Job should have been like, why is this happening to me? God, why are you doing this? And later on, he was like that. His response after his health diminished and after he felt like God was abandoning him, his friends are blah, 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 talking about it. And they were saying he did something wrong to evoke God's wrath, and there was a whole debate. But God, what in the world? Okay, that's kind of loud. I'm gonna turn that down. Didn't think that would be so loud. Okay. Anyway, um, but God answered him later on, pretty much just explaining that you may not understand my plan, but I'm still God, kind of thing. But Job's response here, instead of being, why did God do this to me? I don't deserve this, blah, blah, blah. He said, the Lord has given me this stuff, and now he has taken it away. And I think that the important thing to note is Job's perspective. His perspective is not from, oh, I deserve these things and God has wronged me. It's God has given these things to me, and he has chosen to take them away. And so it's it is a blessing that I was even able to receive these things, but even more so a blessing that God is still God, regardless of taking them away or not. He gave them to me and he take them away. I came into the world with nothing, so it makes sense that I come out of this world with nothing because God has given me everything that I have, in a sense. And I think that mindset is very powerful to have. It's something that I've been now recently working on, and it's definitely affected a lot of my life, I'd say. Just a mindset thing that I will mention later, but it's definitely so much more. There's so much more humility to be had when you truly realize that God is the center of the universe. And I'm not just saying that to say, oh, he's the creator of everything. Like, no, he's the center of everything you do and the center of everything. He should be the center of everything you do. Every conversation you have, every interaction you have, every assignment you complete, every talent you do, every piano song you play, every track race you run, like he should be the center of everything you do. And I'll get into it later, but that's just something that's been on my mind recently. And as I was thinking Sunday night, I'm like, what does it truly mean to be humble? Like, is God really the center of my life, or am I so focused on these other things that I question God when I don't get my way or when things go wrong? And so I have to figure, what does it truly mean to be humble? And the definition in the dictionary of being humble is a modest view of one's own self-importance, or one's own importance, I should say. And while that, makes sense, modestly viewing yourself and modestly viewing how important you are in relation to other people, I think when it comes to Christianity, there's a different context involved in that. And, our worth is not defined by arbitrary moral constructs or whatever this world has given us, money, wealth, fame, power, no One Piece reference, but all those random things that we think define our lives, how skilled we are at this one sport, or how much money we can make in 1 week, or how we live our lives, how aesthetic our Instagram posts are. I think that sometimes people define their lives by that and say, oh, I'm important because of this. I'm important because I have 1 million followers. I'm important because I make so much money. But God defines our importance differently. He states that everyone is important because of the way he created us. He created us all individually and equally. We're all fearfully and wonderfully made. And so being created in God's image, I think that's what brings us importance, the importance that we are in God's image. So another take that I have on the definition of humility and being humble is a modest view of our creation in God's image, a modest view of how we are in relation to God, a modest view of the life we're supposed to be living as a Christian. And this then translates to Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 through 9, saying, "For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not your own doing. It is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast." Right? I think if you're just genuinely looking at that, the easiest way to fall into pride is to take credit for your own actions and to think that you are, as great as people say you are, or you're better than other people. And while it doesn't necessarily relate to the spirit, that could apply to anybody, whether they're spiritual or not, whether they're about Jesus or not. You could easily fall into that saying, oh, yeah, I beat you in a race. Yeah, I'm just simply better than you. I don't know what to say. I find that even joking about boasting to other people, joking about how you're better than someone, or joking about how you are faster or smarter or whatever, is still contributing to that pride and that ego, because even if you're telling yourself jokes, a certain part of you will then, if you get into a situation like that, you'll want to respond in the way that the joke would say. Like, say if I'm talking to my friend, right, and I tell him every single time that he misses a ball, let's say we're playing volleyball. I tell him every time he misses a set, oh man, you should let me set, man. Low key, you're just bad. And I tell him that every single time. What do you think is going to happen the next time he sets a bad ball and I'm thinking about it? My first initial response, my initial thought is going to be to tell him that he is bad and that I should be setting because I'm better. And whether it's a joke, whether we both laugh or not, that mindset is infecting you, and it will then affect your other actions as well. All of a sudden, you're going to be subconsciously thinking that you should be setting, even if it's a joke, even if it's down in your heart, you'll be thinking that you should be setting because you are better, quote unquote. So it's like, the more you tell yourself lies, the easier it is to believe said lie. And I think that applies to me a lot and applied to my life. I would tell myself that I wasn't the best, or I was going to fail exams back in high school, and I was not going to do well in quizzes. I wasn't going to be the best in the class, so that I wouldn't be disappointed if I wasn't. But then I tried to do that here in college, and when I didn't actually perform well like I did in high school, I then started to actually believe that, because I've been telling myself that as a joke. I was saying as a joke for so long, but now that I'm saying it and I've seen the results that coincide with it, maybe I start to believe that I actually am not, the smartest in the room, that I actually am going to fail, that I actually am not going to, do well in my classes and stuff. And so whatever you speak about, whatever you meditate on, whatever you repeat to yourself, eventually your mind will start to believe it. And my mother is trying to get this instilled in my head, that I need to speak positive things in order for myself to think positive. And it's the hardest thing for me to do that, because I've been believing negative for so long. So trying to believe something positive is like trying to believe black is black when I believe black is white the entire past 8-9 years. So it's definitely something that I'm still working on, but I think that this verse and being humble directly ties into that, because all of a sudden you're not thinking about, I'm not thinking about what the world says about me. I'm not thinking that my opinion is better than any other person's on the planet. I'm just thinking about what God's thinking about, and I'm thinking about how He has defined who I am. He's defined my ability. He's defined my life. I'm not living for other people. I'm not trying to see what they want me to do and trying to, please them and trying to make myself seem better than them, because we're all equal. We're all saved by faith. We're not saved by our own works. If any one man's works got him above another person in terms of salvation and faith, then I think that person could rightfully be, better than the other person. But that's not the case. We're all equally saved by faith. We're all equally not saved by works. The only person that did a work was Jesus, which is why He is God and why He is better than us. But all the humans, every human on this planet, we're all the same. We are all the same. And I think that when we realize that, all of a sudden it's like, I'm not competing with you. You're on my level. We're all on the same level. You're my friend. You're my brother or sister in Christ. I'm not trying to prove myself to be better than you. Because at the end of the day, we're all just sinners on this world. We're all at the same level in God's eyes. And that's the same thing I was talking about, changing your perspective. Like Job changed his perspective. It's not about what he lost. It's about what God has given him. It's not about how we view ourselves in relation to other people. It's about how God views us. We're all on the same level. Sure, we're all sinners, but we're also all beautifully made. We're also all great. Not great. We're also all great creations of the Lord. And so it's like, how am I going to view another human being negatively and lift myself up in pride and ego because I feel like I'm better than them based off of some stupid arbitrary concept like I can run faster? Like, who cares, bro? That's not relevant at all. I think Philippians 3:8-9 also goes into that. Yes, everything else is worthless when compared with the infinite value of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord. For His sake I have discarded everything else, counting it all as garbage, so that I could gain Christ and become one with Him. I no longer count on my own righteousness through obeying the law. Rather, I become righteous through faith in Christ. For God's way of making us right with Himself depends on faith. Not our own righteousness and worth, but God's mercy and love for us has made us valuable and righteous through faith. Not our own righteousness, not our own works, not our own ability, not our own talents, not our own skills. Which, mind you, any of that I just said, our own, was still given to us by God. Like, my own sense of self was given to me by God. My ability to think was given to me by God. My ability to walk was given to me by God. My ability to breathe and exist was given to me by God. At any moment, He could take that away, which is what Job was talking about. The Lord's given it to me, He could take it away at any moment, which is why having a perspective like that is so important, because say God takes my life tomorrow. Say He takes the life of my friend tomorrow. How am I going to react to that? Am I going to be mad at Him? Am I going to be sad? That's fine to be sad. Job tore his clothes in grief. But am I going to be mad at God for Him doing that? I don't think that's the right way to go about it. And I don't think I'm owed anything by God. That is a faulty mindset. And that's a prideful mindset, to think that God owes you anything, to think that God is supposed to make your life a living wonderland because that's what a God would do. No, that's what you think a God would do. Does not work like he does in our mind. God does not work like this perfect creation of him that anything we want, anything we desire that we think is perfect, God should give it to us because God wants our best for us. God wants the best for us, but that's not what we conceive. And by putting him first and realizing he's in everything, we take the prideful blinders off, and then we see just how vast it is, the measure of God's love and his mercy, to see his plan, to witness him actually working and not just giving us what we want. Because what we want is not what we need. Sometimes I want junk food. Sometimes I want Wingstop. Sometimes I want McDonald's. Sometimes I want Panda Express. Is that what I need? No, I need some. I mean, it has some of what I need, I'm sure. Like some carbs, protein a little bit. But it doesn't have any greens. Doesn't have any hydration rather than the food juices and stuff. Doesn't really give me a balanced diet if I were to eat that every single day for the rest of my life. So it's like, sure, that's what I want, but is it what I need? No. So God's trying to give us what we need, and in order to see that, we have to take off our egotistical and prideful mindset, saying that we know what's best for us, and we know what God should give us, and we know what we should have, and we know what we can do in this specific executive board position. And so it's upsetting that you don't get it. Like, sure, could I have succeeded? I don't even know. I had ideas. Concepts exist. If anyone had a position that they wanted and they didn't get it, there's so much that could have happened, yeah. But it didn't. And that's just the way it is. Because God has a plan. And who am I to question the Lord's plan? Who am I to question what God has set out for me in my path? Sure, I can be upset about it. And I was rightfully upset about it. But to then take that upset and be mad at God, to say I should have gotten it, to be mad at other people, no less, is the wrong way to go about it. And that's why I tried to isolate myself Sunday, because I didn't want to be mad at anybody. No one deserved my anger. No one deserved my being upset but me. And then it was like, if I were to put that on other people, I would feel bad because I don't deserve it. That's not, one, we got to remember that's not who we're fighting against. Like, I'm not fighting against other people. I'm fighting against Satan, ultimately. And two, it's just not fair to them. They didn't do anything. They wanted the position same as I did. They worked for it same as I did. They put in their work same as I put in my work. And based on God's standards, since we're all on the same level, any amount of work they do is equal to any amount of work I do. And their life is just as valuable as mine. So I have no right to tell them that I should have gotten something or I shouldn't have gotten something based on, whatever. It's just so, when you take a step back and look at it, everything is so superficial in the sense that it doesn't really affect how God views you and what will happen spiritually to you in this life and the next life. Like, the way I act now, yes, it can be because of my faith. I can be kind to people. I can be loving. I can be forgiving. I can be Christ-like. But getting a position on a board, getting a nice job, getting a nice family, a nice house, all of that is truly like not the end goal. And in a sense, it's just an add-on to the lives that we're living. Like, it's just a blessing, which is why Job's perspective is so, again, beneficial, because when you see it like everything is a blessing, everything is not supposed to be given to us, all of a sudden, what seemed to be, deserve, what seemed to be the American dream is now just something that will be so great if it happens, but God could put around something greater just around the corner. You never know. So it's about keeping an open mind, not keeping those blinders on of what I want is what I want, and I'm not going to accept anything else, but just seeing what God has in store for us, because he's given us this life to live. Sure, we can live it for him. Ecclesiastes talks about that, but it's like, how in the world am I going to be upset that I don't live this certain way when there's so many ways God can interrupt my life? And that just goes to show how, like, not meaningless, but meaningless the things in this world actually are. Because God is God. He can do anything with anything. So if I'm trying to live this one set path of life, I feel like I'm going to miss out on whatever God actually has in store for me. Which I think some people have talked about in the past. How if you're so focused on what you want, you'll fail to see what God is doing in your life right now. And I think that directly ties into pride and humility. It's about humbling yourself before God and saying that I understand what I want, but I want your plan more. And so I'm going to, cast my desires aside, put it all away from me, and truly just seek out what you desire. And I think that is true and truly important and truly what Job had to learn. Not that he understood God's plan, but that he understood that God's plan was good. And that's what he really solidified in his mind by the end of Job. So it really built his faith and allowed him to be even more what's the adjective of integrity? Integrable? I don't know. Integrating? I'm thinking about math, but no. It allowed him to be a person of even more integrity because he then understood that God's plan will always be good no matter what happened, no matter what he took away, no matter what he gave him. God will still be God and the plan will still be the plan whenever you're thinking about it like that. So it's about perspective again. I think Psalm 139, 13 through 14 ties into that value thing. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. So it's like, if I'm truly thinking about my own worth, right? If I'm truly thinking about what I'm supposed to be doing and who I'm supposed to be living for, it makes more sense to then think about God and how I'm fearfully and wonderfully made than to think about man and how difference between like value spiritually and value terrestrially, right? Value spiritually, that is given to you before you're even born. That is given to you before you're at the womb. That is given to you before you even technically exist, because God already is going to make you exist. You're already in the plan. So you're given value before you even set foot on this earth. God has a plan for you and God has value for you. And even after you're born, you don't set foot on this earth yet, technically. So God still has a plan for you. If you're thinking about, oh, well, it doesn't happen until I'm born. He still has a plan for you, even the second you get out the womb. Like, you have value from the moment you are thought of, which you've already been thought of. So you have value. Whereas terrestrial value, that comes from after you're born. That comes from after you set foot on the planet, after you've already done these things, after you've already proven yourself in the eyes of man. And I think that's such a powerful thing to think about, right? You have one aspect where your worth is given to you before you've done anything, and one aspect where you only have worth if you've done something. And it's such a very contrasting idea to think about how God is so merciful and gracious with his idea of value, whereas the world is so harsh and judgmental with their sense of value. Because who am I to say that because someone didn't do XYZ, they don't have as much value as me who did ABC? Like, that doesn't correlate, one, to what God is saying about us, and two, to human value in general. If someone, very, very contrite, no, not contrite, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, very, very controversial example. If someone has killed a person, and I have not, most people will say that the someone that killed somebody is worth less than me, because I have not killed somebody. Most will say that it is immoral to kill someone, which it is, and that their life has less value because of that they should be put to the death penalty or blah, 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 because of they've killed one person or 10 people or 50 people or whatever. The right thing, I think, to think about is that, one, God will judge them eventually, and two, their value doesn't get taken away because of what they've done on this planet. Because once again, our value was decided before we've done anything. So our value cannot be taken away by anything. Now, spiritual life, being born again, that is something we do after we're already created, after we're conceived, after we're walking on this earth. So I feel like that then can... The fact that it being taken away is a controversial topic that I will talk about for another day. I don't know about salvation being taken away. But actually, I don't know. I haven't really... I've thought about it so much to the point where it's like, I don't know. Because at the end of the day, it's God deciding what... It's God deciding your faith, right? I can't judge another person's faith saying, oh, they left Christ, they don't know him anymore. Like, I can't judge that. That's God at the end of the day. And so I think some of those questions we just don't know. I'm not going to say someone can leave God and come back to him, or can't leave God and come back to him, because he offers salvation for everybody. If someone was a Christian for 20 years, wasn't a Christian for 10, and then a Christian for another 20, I'm not going to say they're not a Christian anymore. Like, that just doesn't really make any sense. But I can't say that they are genuinely a Christian again for the last 20, because I don't know their faith. I don't know how their walk is. I can only assume them to be another creation of Christ and to try and help and guide them the same way I'd guide anybody else on the planet. And their actions will speak about their faith. And so it's like, some things you just think about. Anyway, that was a really random tangent. But I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. Your salvation is given to you after you're born, after you're conceived, right? And so that is something you have to put an effort for. That is something you can, quote unquote, be given or taken away. Well, that's not really something I don't know. Well, whatever. But say for the sake of this example, it's something you can be taken away from, because the worth that you get after you're born, something you work for, is something that can be taken away by your works as well. So I think that I don't like that though, because faith, like salvation, is not by works; it's by faith, and your works show the validity of your faith. So actually, scratch that example. I don't like that example. But what I'm trying to get across is that your worth is defined before you're even born. So nothing you do afterwards can take away that worth, right? And so to think that someone that murdered somebody is less valuable than someone that didn't is just kind of wrong, because sure, they killed somebody. Sure, that's wrong. Sure, that's against the Ten Commandments. Yes, that's against God's law. But we can love the sinner and hate the sin. We can still recognize them as a creation of God, but hate the thing that they did and guide them in love towards not doing that thing again. Whereas seeing them as a detestable person and regarding them as such for the rest of their lives, never trying to reconcile them to God. I think that also becomes from a sense of pride, saying that you're better than somebody because you didn't do what they did. I'm going to be very open right now. I have done some really stupid things sexually. I'm not going to lie. I've had my time of promiscuity, I'd say, if that's the word. I don't know if that's the word. But I've been sexually immoral many, many, many times in my life. As recent as a month ago, to last summer, to last year, to the summer before, all the way since like 2020, or even earlier. So it's like, I've lusted, I'm not going to go into detail, but yeah, I've been sexually immoral. And I, for the longest time, and still do believe sometimes, that I am worse and less than my other Christian friends, because I don't think they've done that. I don't think they've done the things I've done. I don't think they've interacted with girls the way I've interacted with girls. And so it's like, sometimes for me, it's hard to believe that I still have the same worth that I had before I did all those actions, before I did what I did with those girls, or before I was sexually immoral, before I lusted after them, before I, fell to porn and all that stuff. And so it's like, I have to drop my pride and drop my ego to think that other people think lesser of me. Because humility is not about, they always say, being humble is not about thinking less of yourself, it's about thinking of yourself less. And I think that it still takes some sense of ego and pride to think that some people will think you're worse because of what you've done, and some people will not accept you because of what you've done. Sure, for a fact they will. There are some people that will hear me say, oh yeah, I've lusted after a woman. Yeah, I've been on the verge of sleeping with a woman before, and they were going to look at me crazy and be like, oh, that's not the Landon I know. You're weird. And they're not going to see me the same way. And that's fine. I'm going to let them do that, because at the end of the day, one, it's my own pride keeping me from telling them that, to want them to view me as a better person, and to view me as a better person than I actually am. And I think dropping that shade, dropping that mask of ego, that mask of being prideful, then allows me to open up and be vulnerable, like, telling people what I've done and telling people the situations I've been in. And so I think then, if I want to be humble, if I want to ditch my pride, I have to be comfortable with letting people know that I am a flawed human being. I have to be comfortable with letting people know that I have fallen to lust, that I have fallen to sexual immorality. I have to be comfortable with letting people know that I've fallen to porn, that I've fallen to masturbation. I have to be comfortable with letting people know that I am a human that falls down more times than not. I've been mad, I've been angry, I've yelled, I've cussed, I haven't punched people, but I've been close on the verge of doing so. And it's like, there are so many times that I have just not been perfect. And to recognize that I'm not perfect, but God still views me as valuable, is to view my own importance as a creation of God, but modestly, not thinking that I'm better for it, but knowing that I still have so much more to go, because God is the standard and I'm not up to that standard yet. I'm nowhere near that standard. And so humility then comes in, where I'm like, yeah, I'm working to be better, but because of my salvation, I'm not better than you. Because of my salvation, we're on the same level. I recognize just how much on the same level I am with you. And because of that, I can actually talk to you like you are my equal. Because at the end of the day, you are. The murderer that's next to me, the felon that's next to me, the thief that's next to me, the sexually immoral person that's next to me, the promiscuous person that's next to me, the dictator that's next to me. They're the same as me. Regardless, they've done things that differentiate them in society. But at the end of the day, we all go to sleep. We all wake up. We are all given another day by God. We are the same people. Same creation by God. Same created in the image of God. Same salvation by faith from God. We all have the same opportunity. We're all given the same life. Sure, we use it in different ways, but that's all God's will and all what he wants to do. And so I think that then, how do we stay humble? How do we stay in that mindset of thinking that everyone is equal and that everyone is, the same as us? I think something that's been helping me recently is thinking, I had an epiphany. I was praying Sunday night after the whole situation happened, and something that got to me was, I don't know what my mother said exactly. She said something about how that I have to drop my pride and my ego. And something about it later that stuck out to me is that whenever I walk into a room, I think that I have to be noticed, that I think I have to have heads turn, I have to have everybody say hi to me, I have to have everybody acknowledge me and laugh and smile and blah, blah, blah. Whenever I say a joke, I have to have everybody laugh. Whenever I do something cool, I have to have everybody congratulate me. It's just, even if I act like meek about it, in my head I'm still like, oh, if they don't say something, I'm going to notice and be like, why didn't anyone say anything? I really wish that someone would have said something. And it's become such a thing that, like, I don't even realize it anymore. And so what I realized Sunday night as I was praying, I literally, like, vocally said, like, I'm not the most important person in the room. I'm not the most important person on the volleyball team. I'm not the most important person on the swim team. I'm not the most important piano player. I'm not the most important comedian. I'm not the most important classmate. I'm not the most important friend. But just because I'm not the most important doesn't mean I don't have value. And you know who is? God is the most important person in the room. And that sentence, God is the most important person in the room, has been replaying in my mind for the past, what day is it? Wednesday? Sunday? 72? 80? I want to say 80 hours. It's been repeating in my head for the past 80 hours. And it has been so beneficial. I'm not going to say, like, it's changed my life, but it's changed the way I see literally everything. Because all of a sudden, I have constantly repeating in my head, God's the most important person in the room. God's the most important person in the room. And it then changes my perspective to think, like, since God is the most important person in the room, how is he seeing this situation? How is he seeing this girl that I'm looking at? How is he seeing this situation that I'm in? How is he seeing my friends that just made me upset? How is he seeing this test that I really don't want to study for? How is he seeing these things since he's the only one that matters, since he's the most important person in the room, quote unquote? Because whether you believe it or not, God is in the room with you. God is in the room with me right now. He's just standing here, watching me talk, watching over me. And we have the Spirit inside of us as well. So God's in our room as well. And so acting like he's not there is what sometimes I've acted like he's not there for so long that it just seems like second nature now to believe that, oh, yeah, God's not there. I mean, he is, but he's not physically there. But to believe that is to believe that God cannot physically help you out or literally help you out. He's only some spiritual being. He can't actually do what he's going to say he's going to do. To believe he's actually here is to believe that he can do, he can act, he can see, he can help, he can speak. We have to believe that he is physically present, because we don't see him physically present, but he is physically present. And I think that thinking that he is in the room, thinking about what he's thinking about, has then caused me to change the way I act. Sure, I still lash out. I had a little explosion playing volleyball Monday, I think it was. And that kind of upset me a little bit because I was like, I should have been more calm about the situation. But sometimes, like, my frustration gets the better of me. But I think even after that, I was just still thinking about God is the most important person in the room. How would he think about this situation? I just tried to calm myself down and think that I'm not. No one's really looking at me, dude. Like, no one's watching my play by play, saying, "Oh yeah, this guy sucks at volleyball." Like, no one cares. Literally, no one cares that much. I'm not that important. And that's sometimes I have to remind myself that I'm literally not that important, bro. Like, nobody's looking at me, watching me walk down the sidewalk, wondering, oh man, that guy's so mysterious. Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares about you in that way. Nobody cares about you in that way. They're not paying attention to what you're doing 24/7. They care about you as a person, yeah. God cares about you as a person, loves you. but he's the one that's watching your every move, thinking about what you're doing. So if anyone should be on your mind 24/7, if you think anyone's in the room with you, it should be God. Like, let's be real. God is the one that's watching you 24/7. God's the one that's helping you out. God's the one that's giving you advice and stuff like that. And so I think that at the end of the day, if you're struggling to be more humble, if you're struggling to... Oh my goodness, why am I burping so much? Excuse me. If you're struggling to be humble, if you're struggling to find a way to drop your pride, a way to give yourself up to God and give your desires up to Him, start verbally, even verbally, like start actually saying out loud, God is the most important person in the room. How would He see the situation? God is the most important person in the room. How would He see my actions right now? God is the most important person in the room. How would He view the way I'm treating this person? What advice would He give me? What tips would He give me? And all of a sudden, little by little, day by day, you're going to start to see yourself change from thinking about yourself and whatever you're feeling and how you're going to react to thinking of yourself less, thinking of God more, and in turn, you think of others more. There's the acronym JOY that stands for Jesus and others and you. How you're supposed to think about people. You think about God first, and then you think about others, and then you think about you. I think by thinking about God, you in turn think about others, and that then affects you, and you think about yourself. So I think to start things off, if you need advice, if you didn't hear anything else I said today, start by saying that God is the most important person in the room. Whenever you're thinking, whatever time of the day, whatever it be, just remind yourself, God is the most important person in the room. And all of a sudden, I think there will be change in your life, that God will start moving the way you want Him to move, that He will start, not even the way that you want Him to move, but He'll start moving in ways you don't expect. He'll start moving in ways that you will not foresee, but ways that you will benefit from. And I think trusting Him for that, it may not always seem like it. Job getting his stuff taken away didn't seem like a beneficial move at the time. Didn't seem like something he wanted at the time. But later on, Job was thankful for it. He understood, and he was like, yeah, God, I don't understand what exactly you're doing, but I know that your plan is good regardless. And later on, God gave him back all he had and more. So I'm happy to say that I've experienced a situation like that where I was given back what I lost. And to remind myself that God is the most important person in the room, and He can do that, is to then just make my testimony that much greater. And so that is my advice for today. I think remind yourself that God is the most important person in the room, but don't think little of yourself for it. You still have value. You don't have value because of the world. You have value because of yourself, and you have value because of the way God has viewed you, the way God's created you. He's fearfully and wonderfully made you to be in the image of Him. He loves you. He cares about you. He's given you a chance of salvation. He died for you on the cross. I think that shows just how valuable you are, that He would die for you and everybody else. Keep that in mind. He died for everybody else too. But He died for you on the cross and gave you a chance of salvation. I think if anybody has value, it's someone that was died for. That's clearly someone thought they were important. And if the God of the universe thinks you're that important, then I don't think a little job, a little paycheck in the mailbox is going to define your worth for you. I don't think He wants it to be reduced down to such a fickle thing as wealth or power or something like that. Like, He put His life on the line for you. And that is something that you need to remember the next time you're doubting your own worth. You value and you matter, but God, matters a little bit more. And I think that putting that into perspective will make you a lot more open and vulnerable about, being humble, being open, not being prideful, but also just treating others kindly. And so, yeah. That's all I got for today. Stay humble, stay not prideful. My eyes are killing me, man. I went to bed 10 hours ago at 5:13 in the morning. Not even 5:13, like 5:40, 5:50. Don't ask why I did. Engineering things. I stayed up late doing my homework because I procrastinated it all day. Don't ask me why. Didn't even mean to do that. It just happened. But yeah. That's all I got. Have a great Wednesday or Thursday, I guess it will be. Have a great Thursday. Enjoy your day, guys. I'll see you all next week. And yeah, stay blessed. This stupid song, but I don't have I sound nasally. Why can't I just not be sick? Like, sickness is such a... dang you, Satan. Why couldn't I just be perfect human?